Welcome to Sleepy Science. Tonight we're sinking into the quiet world of mushrooms. Not the loud stories, not the wild myths, just the calm, fascinating truths that help your mind slow down. Mushrooms are stranger and softer than we think. They glow in the dark. They breathe with the forest. They speak to trees in whispers we can't hear. And somehow, learning these small, peaceful facts, it settles the mind. It gives your thoughts something gentle to hold on to while the rest of you unwinds. So get comfortable, let your breathing fall into its own rhythm, and let the quiet science of mushrooms guide you toward sleep. Mushrooms don't rush. They don't force anything. They grow in the slow language of the forest, and tonight we drift into that rhythm with them. When you picture a mushroom, you might think of a simple cap, a stalk, maybe a cute little umbrella on damp soil. But the truth is softer, stranger, and so much richer. Every mushroom we see is only the surface of something far older and far deeper, a living network that breathes under our feet like a quiet heartbeat. And somehow, knowing that makes your own heartbeat relax a little too. Their world starts long before the fruiting body rises. It begins with mycelium, a hidden network so thin and delicate that it slips through soil, wood, and stone like threads of white smoke. It's everywhere, under trees, through fallen logs, inside tiny cracks in the ground. And it moves with purpose so slow it feels like the earth itself thinking. Forests depend on this network. Trees rely on fungi like old friends whose help they can't live without. Through the mycelium, they trade nutrients, whisper warnings, and keep each other alive. If you could shrink yourself down and step into that network, it would look like a glowing map of light, spreading in every direction, pulsing with tiny signals. A whole hidden world, a quiet communication system, something soft, something ancient, something patient. When a mushroom finally rises above the ground, it's not a beginning, it's an announcement, a single moment where the underground world pokes its head into the open air. The fruiting body forms slowly, gathering water from the soil and swelling with each breath the forest gives it. Some rise overnight after rain, appearing like small miracles. Others take their time, forming layers and textures that feel almost unreal. Some look smooth like porcelain, some fold and ripple like fabric. Some shine with a soft gloss that feels like morning dew melted into color. And here's where the magic gets a little strange, a little dreamy. Some mushrooms glisten, some sweat, some ooze tiny beads of moisture that sit on their caps like crystal droplets. It's not random, it's not weird, it's their way of balancing water, keeping themselves hydrated, protected, and alive. Touch one, and your fingers come away damp, tacky, or slick. A soft reminder that nature works for its own reasons, not ours. Even the shine, the gloss, the moisture, every bit of it has a job. Out here, beauty is function. Colors in mushrooms aren't accidents either. Some glow with deep blues, cool purples, or soft rose pink tones. Others turn bright yellow, neon orange, or ghost white. The forest, at dawn, can look like a dream, someone painted in secret. Indigo milk caps bleed a shock of blue when you touch them. Little amethyst deceivers hide flashes of violet under brown leaves. Wax caps rise in pinks and yellows so soft they feel like ice cream melting in the sun. These colors protect them from light. They help them handle stress. They may signal insects or simply reflect the chemistry flowing through their cells. But to us, they just feel magical. Like stumbling onto a tropical fish in a puddle, a tiny jolt of wonder in a quiet place. Photographers chase these moments like treasure, but even if you're not holding a camera, the surprise can lift something inside you, calm you, remind you that the world still hides beauty in small corners. And then there's the texture, the strange hypnotic variety of it. Some mushrooms look like living umbrellas, others resemble coral or deep-sea creatures pulled onto land, branching shapes, twisting shapes, shapes that look like flames frozen in time, nature repeating the same designs in different worlds, coral in the ocean, fungi in the forest, same language, different places, a quiet echo of growth. But one of the most soothing things about mushrooms is how they choose to grow. Patterns appear in meadows like geometric poems, arcs, spirals, and perfect circles. These aren't symbols or myths. They form because the mycelium grows outward in all directions, exhausting the center and blooming at the edges. From above, it looks precise, like someone drew it, like the earth itself whispered a piece of math into the soil and let it grow. There's a calmness in that order, a feeling that nature, even when unseen, is humming along with its own steady logic. And when you slow down long enough to notice, something inside you starts to sync with it. You feel the pace of the forest, the softness, the flow. Even the way mushrooms breathe is gentle. They release spores into the air, tiny dust-like seeds drifting on currents you can't see. Some puff them out like smoke, some let wind carry them. Some hitch them onto insects with sticky or spiky structures. Everything is done quietly. Everything is done with patience. Wait for the right moment. Let go. Trust the air. Trust the movement. Trust the world to carry you somewhere new. And maybe that's why learning about mushrooms feels so calming. They remind us of slowness, of deep time, of ecosystems that keep going even when we're asleep. While we rush through our days, fungi keep working under the surface, turning decay into new life, stitching nutrients into the soil, holding water, feeding trees, supporting creatures we'll never meet. They don't demand attention. They don't shout for recognition. They work in silence. They hold the system together. A reminder that not everything needs to be loud to matter. That the ground beneath us is alive, that even when things fall apart, something out there is stitching the world back together, thread by thread. So as you settle deeper and your breathing slows a little more, imagine that underground network beneath you, soft, white, glowing, endless. Imagine it spreading through the soil like a calm heartbeat. Imagine the fruiting bodies rising, shining with dew, glowing with color, carrying secrets older than forests themselves. There's something almost unreal about the way mushrooms exist in silence, like they're always listening but never in a hurry to speak. When you walk through a forest, you might not notice them at first. They blend in. They stay low. They don't reach for the sky the way trees do. They don't rush or demand attention. They grow in their own quiet time, their own soft rhythm, almost like they're meditating beneath the leaves. And the crazy part is, that slowness is part of their power. Mushrooms aren't just plants, they aren't even really vegetables. They belong to their own kingdom, a strange one tucked between life and decay, between what was and what will be. And when you really think about it, that alone feels relaxing. A life form that just takes its time, breaking down the world one small piece at a time, never stressed, never loud, just existing, just doing its job in the dark. And there's this weird comfort in knowing something out there doesn't struggle the way we do. If you lift a fallen branch or brush away a pile of soft leaves, you'll sometimes find mushrooms hiding under there. They grow in cool, damp places. They love the shade. They love that quiet darkness that most creatures avoid. And maybe that's why they feel so calming to learn about. Mushrooms belong to the places where everything slows down. They take over abandoned corners of the earth, old logs, forgotten roots, places nobody pays attention to. And somehow, they turn them into life again. It's like they whisper, even in the dark, things can grow. Kinda comforting, right? Especially at night when you're lying in bed trying to let the noise in your head settle. Mushrooms don't fight their darkness. They use it. What's wild is how patient they are. A mushroom you see today might have taken years to form underground, not the little cap on the surface, the real part, The network under the soil, that web can stretch from miles, quiet, hidden, spreading slowly through the earth like soft white threads. These threads are called mycelium, and honestly, they're the true body of the mushroom. The part we see, that cute little cap on a stem, that's just the fruit. It's the apple on the tree, the tiny part of something much bigger. And imagining those threads, those delicate, ghost-like lines moving under the forest floor, it's so calming. Like veins of the earth, just breathing, connecting, building tiny bridges between roots and soil and stone. Nothing rushes, nothing forces, it just flows. People assume mushrooms are simple, but they're quietly brilliant. They break down dead trees and fallen leaves so the forest can keep living. Without them, the world would be stacked with old, dead things. The ground would never clear. The soil wouldn't renew. It's a little strange to think about, but mushrooms are kind of like the planet's gentle cleaners. They clean up the mess piece by piece and turn it into fresh earth again, and they do it without recognition or reward. It's just their nature to restore things quietly. There's something peaceful about the idea that even the earth has something soft taking care of it, working in silence, keeping everything balanced and fresh. Even the weird facts about mushrooms feel calming. Like how they don't actually need light. They grow perfectly fine in the dark. Total darkness. Deep cave darkness. They don't need sunlight the way plants do. They're not out here stressing about finding a good spot near the window. They grow wherever they land, wherever life places them. That's a nice thought, especially when life feels a bit chaotic. Mushrooms don't wish they were somewhere else. They just adapt. They just grow. They make the best of whatever environment they're given. No rushing, no comparing, no worrying. Just slow, steady growth. Some mushrooms even glow. Soft, greenish light, like tiny lanterns on the forest floor. Scientists call it bioluminescence, but honestly, it feels like the forest leaving a nightlight on. These glowing mushrooms appear on fallen logs or in deep woods where nothing else shines. If you ever found yourself walking there, hopefully not alone at night because that'd be creepy but kinda cool, you'd see little freckles of light scattered through the darkness. Calm, dim, gentle, no sharp brightness, just a glow that says, "You're not alone out here." Imagine lying in bed, eyes half closed and thinking about that soft green glow. It's the kind of image that slows your heart a little bit. Mushrooms also have this subtle way of connecting things. Trees, plants, roots, they communicate through mycelium. Not in words, not in messages we could read, but through signals. A tree that's struggling might send a kind of chemical call for help through the fungal network, and a healthier tree nearby might share resources. That's wild. A forest, silently taking care of its own members, and mushrooms are like the middlemen, the quiet translators. Just thinking about that network silent help, invisible connection makes the world feel a little less lonely. Even in nature, nothing survives alone. Everything is linked in ways we can't see, just like how people sometimes feel connected without needing to talk. And here's something soothing. Mushrooms grow best after rain, after storms, after everything gets messy and wet and the world feels heavy. They rise from that. Slowly, gently, like tiny reminders that new things can appear after rough moments, not immediately, not explosively, but steadily, almost like healing, quiet healing. The kind you don't notice until one day something new appears in a place that once felt empty. When you look at a mushroom, just a simple round cap, it doesn't look like much. But inside, there are thousands of tiny spores waiting to drift into the air. They float, they spread, they find new places to grow. It's like the mushroom knows that life moves on, even if it doesn't know where it's going next, even if the journey is uncertain. And that's oddly comforting for people too. We don't always know where we're going. But we still grow. So as you drift deeper into this calm space, picture that quiet forest floor, damp, cool, soft, and a single mushroom rising slow and steady in the dark. Nothing stressful, nothing loud, just nature doing its thing at its own pace. And maybe, just maybe, that's the message you needed right now. There's this quiet magic in how mushrooms show up in the most unexpected places, like they're little reminders that nature doesn't always follow the rules we think it does. You can walk past a tree stump 100 times and never see anything. Then one morning, after a cool night or a bit of rain, these tiny caps suddenly appear. It almost feels like the forest is whispering, "Surprise, something grew while you weren't looking." And that's kind of comforting in its own way. Growth doesn't always need to be dramatic or loud. Sometimes it happens quietly, slowly, in the background of life, the same way your mind settles down when you finally allow yourself to just breathe. Mushrooms understand patience in a way humans kind of struggle with. They wait for the exact moment when the world is soft enough, damp enough, welcoming enough, and then they rise. No rush. No pressure, just timing, natural, gentle timing. If you think about it, mushrooms are kind of like the introverts of the natural world. They prefer the shade, they prefer the quiet, they don't need attention. They don't try to outgrow anything or compete for the spotlight. They're cool, just existing in their own calm lane. And honestly, there's something soothing about that energy. In a world where everything feels like a race, mushrooms remind us that not everything has to be fast. Not everything has to be loud. There's beauty in going slow. There's softness in taking your time. And when you imagine them pushing through layers of soil inch by inch, almost like tiny breaths rising from the earth, it's hard not to feel a little more relaxed yourself. What makes them even more interesting is how mysterious they still are. Scientists know a lot about mushrooms, but they also admit that fungi, as a whole, are one of the least understood groups of organisms. There are millions of species we've never discovered, millions of shapes, textures, colors, behaviors hidden in forests, caves, mountains, places humans rarely reach. That mystery has a calming weight to it. The idea that the world still holds secrets, that not everything has been solved or explained or broken down into numbers and charts, maybe even beautiful. It gives your mind a place to wander softly, imagining strange little shapes glowing under logs or delicate white threads weaving under roots like the forest's own private lacework. There's something deeply peaceful in how mushrooms handle decay. It sounds dark, but it's not. They don't run from it, they use it. They take old fallen branches, broken leaves, dead plants, things that look like the end, and they turn them into fresh soil. They turn endings into beginnings, softly, quietly, without judgment, without resistance. And that's a soothing thought when you're lying there trying to fall asleep, trying to let go of the things that feel heavy. Mushrooms show that even the parts of life that feel like collapse can become soil for something new. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly, gently, in their own time. Even their shapes feel calming. Round caps, smooth curves, soft edges. Some look like umbrellas, some look like tiny cups, some look like stars or petals or little lanterns tucked into moss. The forest floor becomes this gentle gallery of shapes that don't try to intimidate. They don't look dangerous or sharp or threatening. They just sit there, quiet and peaceful. Simple forms that somehow slow your breathing when you imagine them. Soft shapes tend to do that, especially when they appear in places where everything else looks rugged or wild. Mushrooms break that pattern with their little rounded silhouettes, like tiny peaceful dots in a world of sharp lines. And then there's the smell. If you've ever walked through a damp forest or lifted a patch of moss or peeled bark off an old log, you know that cool, earthy scent. Mushrooms thrive in that environment, that deep, cold in a good way smell that feels like nature exhaling. Exhale. Even thinking about that scent feels grounding, like being wrapped in the quietest parts of the world. No city noise, no rush, just the calm, still air of a shaded forest where time feels slower and everything feels older and wiser than you. Mushrooms embody that mood. Even imagining them can tap you into that peaceful headspace. But one of the most relaxing things about mushrooms is their softness, not just physically, though many have that velvety, gentle texture, but emotionally soft, energy soft. They don't sting, they don't bite, they don't chase, they don't loom over anything. They're humble little beings quietly doing their job, and when you're drifting toward sleep, this softness is everything. There's something so comforting about thinking of a forest floor filled with tiny, gentle shapes breathing quietly through the night. No chaos, no rush, just calm existence. And mycelium, those underground networks, feel almost like a natural version of comfort. They stretch for miles sometimes. Miles of tiny threads holding the forest together, helping roots communicate, sharing nutrients, passing silent messages in chemical pulses. The way your phone needs a network to stay connected, plants need mycelium. But their network is older, more honest. No noise, no screens, just life helping life. When you imagine that beneath your feet an entire hidden world working in harmony, it settles something inside you, makes the world feel less chaotic, even if just for a moment. Some people say mushrooms are nature's introverts. Others say they're nature's therapists, and maybe both are true. They clean up the mess, they help things grow, they stay in the shadows and offer support without needing credit. If mushrooms were people, they'd be the quiet friends who show up when everything falls apart, not loudly, not dramatically, but with a calm presence that makes everything feel manageable again. And maybe that's why learning about them at night feels so right. Mushrooms belong to the night, to the cool air, to the soft hum of darkness. They thrive when the world quiets down. And that's exactly when your mind is finally ready to settle, too. When the noise of the whole day begins to fade and you can finally hear the softer things, the slow things, the peaceful things, like mushrooms rising from the earth in total silence. So just picture them, tiny caps glowing faintly, air cool and still, the forest floor deep, dark, and soft. And those gentle little beings doing what they do best, growing without effort, breathing without noise, existing without stress. Let that image wrap around your thoughts. Let it calm the parts of your mind that hold on too tight. Let the quiet world of mushrooms guide you deeper and deeper into rest. There's something strangely comforting about imagining a mushroom growing in total silence, like it doesn't need anything from the world except time. And in the quiet, it keeps expanding, slow, steady, not forcing anything. If you close your eyes for a moment, you can almost picture that stillness, that moment where the forest feels like it's holding its breath. Mushrooms rise in that pause, that in-between space where nothing is rushing and nothing is pulling at them. Maybe that's why people look at them and feel calm without even understanding why. They're the definition of no pressure. They don't try to be tall, they don't try to be flashy, they don't fight for sunlight, they just show up where life drops them and grow anyway. And the more you let your mind sit with that idea, the more some part of you loosens, like maybe you don't have to push so hard either. Imagine a forest after rain, everything dark, everything cool, the air heavy with the smell of wet soil and old leaves. That's mushroom time. The moment the earth relaxes, the moment the ground stops cracking and starts breathing again, mushrooms know exactly when that window opens. They've been waiting underground, quietly sensing the world above. They can feel temperature shifts, moisture, the way the soil softens. It's almost like they're listening, really listening to the earth, and when the signal is right, they rise. That idea alone feels kind of soothing, like there's a natural rhythm happening all around us that we barely notice. Something old, simple, dependable, something that works even without us watching. And the way mushrooms move is so gentle it almost feels unreal. They don't explode into existence, they nudge, they ease, they push through the soil with the softest force, slow enough that you'd never catch it happening, but steady enough that when you come back later, they're there. That's a comforting kind of growth, the kind you don't have to witness every second to trust. It's like healing. You don't see it moment by moment, but one day things feel lighter and you realize you've grown too. Mushrooms embody that energy. Subtle progress, quiet change, nothing overwhelming. One of the most calming things about mushrooms is how they live between boundaries. They're not like plants standing tall in sunlight. They're not like animals running around searching for food. They drift in the middle. They break rules. They exist in the cracks and corners, the overlooked spaces. They're outsiders in the gentlest way possible. And sometimes, thinking about that makes you feel better about your own life, especially if you've ever felt like you don't fit perfectly into a category or expectation. Mushrooms remind you that being different doesn't mean being wrong. Sometimes it means you're part of something special, something rare, something with its own kind of beauty. Even their colors have this calming effect. Soft browns, cool whites, deep forest blacks. Occasionally you find one glowing orange or ghostly blue, like nature decided to paint quietly in the dark. The colors aren't loud. They aren't harsh. They're earthy and muted and cozy, shades that feel like old sweaters, warm caves, candlelight, foggy mornings. Imagine walking through a shaded trail and spotting a cluster of mushrooms tucked under a mossy log. The sight is simple, but it hits that part of your brain that craves stillness. It's nature whispering, slow down, sit for a moment, breathe. And the places mushrooms choose to grow, wow! They pick the calmest corners of the world. Deep forest floors, damp valleys, fallen branches, hidden cracks in old trees, places untouched, unbothered, ignored by most creatures. Mushrooms thrive where things are quiet, where the air doesn't rush, where the light barely reaches through the leaves. You can almost hear it, the muffled silence of a forest where nothing is fighting to be seen. It's the kind of place your mind wants to wander when it's tired. Dark, soft, safe. Some mushrooms live on towering redwood trees. Others cling to rotting logs. Some live in snow. Some live in deserts. They don't worry about perfection. They don't need perfect conditions. They simply adapt. They make the best out of whatever they're given. And that mindset is so comforting with what they have. And that message hits deep when you're lying in bed, trying to let go of whatever didn't go right today. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have everything sorted out. You're allowed to grow slowly, quietly, imperfectly. There's this incredible fact that the largest organism on Earth is not a whale, not a tree, it's a mushroom network. A mycelium spanning across thousands of acres. Quiet, hidden, ancient, the world's biggest life form, and it doesn't roar or move or crash through waves. It lies beneath the soil in absolute silence. That's the kind of detail that just makes your chest soften a little. That something so massive, so impressive, chooses stillness over spectacle. It chooses the dark over the spectacle. It chooses the dark over the spotlight. It chooses quiet over noise. There's a lesson in that, a soft one but a powerful one. Even the way mushrooms release spores is relaxing to imagine. They don't blast them out like fireworks. They let them drift gently, like dust floating in a ray of sunlight. Spores ride the tiniest currents of air. Some lift inches, some float miles. No force, no tension, just surrender. Imagine lying under a tree and watching those microscopic particles drifting down through the cool air. It would feel like watching snow that dissolves before it touches the ground. So soft, you barely notice it. So gentle, you almost fall asleep watching it. And the deeper you go into the world of mushrooms, the more you realize they're everywhere. Hidden in the soil, clinging to roots, living in symbiosis with plants, breaking down wood, supporting entire ecosystems, and yet they never brag about it. They never announce themselves. They're the quiet heroes of the natural world, holding everything together while staying almost invisible. And there's something deeply soothing about that. The idea that the world is held up by small, gentle things we never notice. Silent helpers, calm supporters, little reminders that not all strength looks loud. As you let your mind drift deeper into this imagery, picture yourself sitting on a soft forest floor, the air cool, the light dim, mushrooms surrounding you like tiny guardians, everything slow, everything quiet, everything safe. Let that stillness settle into your thoughts. Let the calm weight of the forest wrap around you, and let the whispers of the mushroom world guide you toward even deeper rest. There's this gentle truth about mushrooms that settles into your mind. The longer you think about them, they don't just grow in silence, they depend on it. Darkness, stillness, moisture, time, those are their elements, not heat, not noise, not chaos. They thrive where the world slows down. And maybe that's why learning about them at night feels so natural, almost like you're syncing up with their rhythm. Imagine the forest floor again, cool, damp, quiet enough that you can hear your own breathing, shadows stretching between trees, moss holding droplets of rain, and somewhere beneath that softness, tiny threads of mycelium moving so slowly, it's almost like they're dreaming their way through the soil. They explore without urgency, they grow without pressure, they just drift, like thoughts settling at the end of a long day. Mushrooms are masters of stillness, but they're also masters of efficiency. They can turn almost anything into food, fallen leaves, dead wood, old roots, stuff other life forms can't use. They recycle the world gently, bit by bit, without force, and the thought of something handling life's leftovers with that kind of calm care is strangely relaxing. They never judge what they're given. They just take it, break it down, and turn it into something soft, something usable. It's like nature's version of emotional alchemy, the idea that even the heavy things, even the things that feel broken or used up, can be transformed quietly into something good again. You can change softly, slowly, without rushing. Some mushrooms grow in perfect little circles called fairy rings. The name alone feels like bedtime. These rings form because the underground mycelium expands outward in a slow, patient circle, sending up fruiting bodies around the edges. It creates this natural pattern that looks like something out of an old storybook, like a place where time moves differently. Fairy rings aren't magic, but they feel magical. You can picture them glowing faintly under moonlight, each cap catching the faintest bit of light, forming a silent circle that feels ancient and untouched. Just a soft ring under the trees, waiting in the dark, holding its own quiet story. What's wild is that mushrooms don't even grow toward light. They grow toward the best conditions, even if that means deeper darkness. They follow moisture, they follow softness, they follow the path of least resistance, no stress, no fight. They simply move where life supports them. And there's something deeply calming in the idea that you don't always need to push harder. You just need to find the environment that lets you grow in peace. Mushrooms aren't about effort, they're about alignment. That message hits differently when your mind is tired. It whispers, you don't have to struggle so much. Just grow where you fit. Even the way mushrooms reproduce feels soothing. Some spores drift gently like dust. Others puff out in tiny clouds when the cap is touched, like a soft sigh released into the air. Nothing harsh, nothing intense. just a slow, calm release. In some forests, when the morning light hits certain mushrooms, you can actually see those tiny spores floating up like mist. The whole scene looks like the forest is exhaling. It's a reminder that not everything beautiful has to be loud. Some beauty is microscopic. Some beauty is quiet. Some beauty happens when no one is looking. And then there are those mushrooms that only appear at night. They glow faintly, like soft stars scattered along the forest floor. Bioluminescent mushrooms aren't bright. They don't light up the whole forest. They shine just enough to remind you they're there. A pale green glow, almost like moonlight trapped in a tiny dome. Just imagining that glow makes your breath slow down a little. It feels like a nightlight for the woods, a quiet guardian for the darkness. No fear, no threat, just softness. Mushrooms also show cooperation in a way that's deeply comforting. They help trees communicate, share nutrients, warn each other about pests. Mycelium acts like the forest's nervous system. A tree on one side can send resources to a struggling tree on the other side through the fungal network. No drama, no ego. Just quiet support. It's the kind of natural teamwork that reminds you that support can be silent and still powerful. You don't always need words to help someone. You don't always need noise to make a connection. Sometimes, the strongest bonds are the ones no one sees. There are even fungi that help plants become stronger. They attach to roots and essentially extend the plant's reach, helping it find more water and nutrients. In exchange, the plant shares sugars with the fungus. It's mutual, balanced, peaceful. A natural partnership that makes both sides better. And thinking of that partnership while you're drifting toward sleep feels steadying. Like everything in nature has something watching over it, something helping, something cooperating quietly in the background. Even when things look simple, there's a whole supportive system underneath. But one of the most calming things about mushrooms is how resilient they are. They grow after fire, after storms, after flooding, after the forest experiences something heavy or destructive. Mushrooms are often the first to return, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly rising from the ashes, beginning the cycle of renewal. There's something deeply emotional in that image, a small, soft mushroom pushing through charred soil, a reminder that even after the harshest moments, the world begins again slowly. Healing doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be intense. It can be quiet. It can be subtle. It can look like a tiny white cap rising from black soil. And if you ever look at a mushroom closely, like really closely, you notice the delicate gills under the cap. Soft, thin, perfectly organized. They're so precise, they look like the pages of a tiny book, each line leading spores toward the open air. It's amazing how something so small can be so meticulously designed, and the patterns are always gentle. No sharp angles, just soft lines flowing downward. Nature could have made them chaotic, but it chose symmetry instead. Calm, silent symmetry that feels relaxing to imagine. As you drift deeper into this forest world, picture mushrooms as the quiet breath of nature. The pause between beats, the softness that balances the world's rough edges. Picture them rising slowly in darkness, spreading gently through the soil, glowing faintly under the moon, breaking down old things to make room for the new. And let that imagery wash over you. Let it guide your thoughts into something calmer, softer, lighter. Because in the end, mushrooms aren't just things that grow in forests. They're reminders that life can be slow, that growth can be gentle. That quiet doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the most beautiful things grow in silence. Sometimes the most comforting psychology facts are the ones that tell you, you're not broken, you're just human. And tonight, as you're lying there melting into your pillow, this one might settle into your chest like a warm breath. There's a quiet truth that psychologists talk about, something called emotional residue. It basically means your mind holds on to feelings even after the moment is gone. Like someone said something small earlier today and you brushed it off, but your brain didn't. It tucked that feeling into a corner and kept humming it in the background. And that's why sometimes you're tired for no obvious reason. Your brain's been carrying things you didn't even realize were heavy. And honestly, that's okay, because your mind isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. Sometimes it's a little overprotective, kind of like a friend who keeps double-checking the door lock even though you're already inside and safe. Your brain just wants to make sure you're okay, even long after the moment has passed. And here's the cool part. Emotional residue fades on its own when you're in a relaxed state. That's why your mind feels strangely clearer when you're lying in bed like this, half asleep, drifting in that soft space between thoughts. Your brain finally feels safe enough to drop what it was holding. It's kind of adorable if you think about it. Like it waits all day for this moment to exhale. Another soothing fact. Psychology says your brain loves patterns, especially slow ones, soft breathing, gentle movements, a calm tone. When everything slows down, your mind follows. It's like when you're watching waves roll in, one after another, steady, predictable, comforting. That's why your body gets heavier when you relax. It's not exhaustion, it's your nervous system switching modes, letting go of the tension it was gripping all day. Almost like your whole system is whispering, "We're good now, you can rest." And maybe the sweetest part of all is that your brain is rewiring while you drift off, without you doing anything. Little emotional knots untying themselves in the dark. Your mind is literally cleaning itself up while you sleep, like a quiet night janitor sweeping the hallways. You don't feel it happening, but it does. Every night, without fail. So if today felt messy, if your thoughts felt scattered, if your thoughts felt loud, just know your brain is already calming the storm, already doing what it knows best, bringing you back to balance. Even now, your heartbeat is probably slowing just a little, your breathing getting softer, your body getting warmer and heavier, your thoughts stretching out like they're about to call it a night. And that's the craziest comforting psychology fact of all. Your mind is built for rest, built for healing, built to find calm again and again, no matter how loud the world gets. So as you lie there, sinking a little deeper into your bed, just remember, nothing is wrong with you. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're just human. And your brain, this weird, wonderful, overthinking machine, is slowly guiding you back into peace, one sleepy breath at a time. Mushrooms are far more than the brief, colorful caps we sometimes notice after a rain. They are the hidden engineers, chemists, and caretakers of the natural world, quietly maintaining the balance of forests, meadows, and even deserts. As we drift through this world, allow your mind to slow, like spores settling gently through still air, carrying possibilities across the forest floor. Imagine walking through a dense forest just after a rainfall. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth, a faint aroma of moss and leaf litter, and beneath your feet the soil is soft, rich, and fertile. Popping up through this soil are mushrooms of every imaginable size, shape, and color. Some are tiny, no larger than a fingernail, with caps the hue of cream or pale green. Others rise like umbrellas, delicate yet resilient, their caps spreading wide to catch the tiniest drops of rain. There are mushrooms shaped like antlers, twisting and branching as if they were miniature coral reefs transported from the ocean to the land. Others glow faintly, bioluminescent, creating the illusion that the forest itself breathes a soft green light. The biology of mushrooms is deeply intertwined with the health of their environment. Beneath each mushroom lies a vast network of mycelium, thin, thread-like filaments that can extend for meters, sometimes kilometers, underground. This network is more than just a root system. It is a hidden communication highway, a structure that supports countless forms of life. Nutrients move through these threads, water is absorbed and retained, and microorganisms traverse the pathways like tiny travelers on a bustling road. Without this underground architecture, soil would erode, nutrients would wash away with the rain, and the plants we rely on for food, oxygen, and shade would struggle to survive. Mushrooms also teach us about patience and timing. Their fruiting bodies appear almost overnight, yet the mycelium beneath the surface may have been growing slowly and steadily for months or even years. The emergence of a mushroom is not a hasty event. It is the culmination of quiet preparation. When the right amount of moisture, temperature, and light converge, the mushroom bursts forth from the soil in a miraculous display. Its purpose is simple yet profound: reproduction. Spores, tiny and almost invisible, are released into the air, carried by wind, insects, or even small mammals. Each spore carries the potential for a new life, a new mycelial network that will continue the silent work of sustaining ecosystems. Mushrooms are also masters of adaptation. In dry deserts, some species survive within rocks, forming symbiotic partnerships with algae or cyanobacteria. These lichens, as they are called, create living skins across stones, turning sunlight into food while the fungi store moisture and provide shelter. In extreme environments, fungi cling to salt crystals or mineral veins, surviving on fleeting mists or dew. They tolerate heat, cold, drought, and even radiation, reminding us that life can persist in forms we might never imagine. To think of a fungus quietly thriving in the harshest deserts is to see survival stripped to its essence, patient, resourceful, and unyielding. Color in mushrooms is another marvel of nature. Some fungi are bright blue, purple, or pink, standing in stark contrast to the browns and greens of the forest floor. The indigo milkcap, the amethyst deceiver, or the jewel-like petals of certain wax caps seem almost magical in their brilliance. These colors are not mere decoration. Pigments can protect the mushroom from sunlight, act as antioxidants, signal insects, or emerge as byproducts of other chemical processes. To stumble upon a vividly colored mushroom is to witness a small shock of wonder, a reminder that even in the quiet of the forest, life is imaginative and bold. The shapes of mushrooms are equally fascinating. Some grow in precise circles, arcs, or spirals. Fairy rings, for example, emerge naturally from the way a mycelium expands outward underground. Nutrients at the center are depleted, so the network pushes outward, sprouting mushrooms along the edge in patterns that echo the mathematics of growth seen elsewhere in nature, in shells, flowers, and galaxies. Branching fungi resemble coral or sea creatures, efficient designs that maximize surface area for spore dispersal. Tiny parasol-shaped mushrooms act as shelters for insects, delicate caps rising above the soil to lift gills into air currents. Each form reflects the silent calculations of survival, evolution crafting beauty as a natural byproduct of function. The chemistry of mushrooms is a quiet symphony. Some emit aromas that mimic spices, from cinnamon to licorice. Others smell like fresh bread, yeast wafting from a forest floor, a scent that comforts as it signals food for animals or insects. This chemical language is functional, yet it also reminds us of the unexpected connections between humans and fungi. When you inhale the smell of a mushroom resembling baked bread, you are touching a shared chemistry that links species across time and evolution. Water is another medium where mushrooms excel. They act as living sponges, absorbing rain and holding it in their tissues. This water is slowly released back into the soil, creating microhabitats for insects, mosses, and seedlings. A mushroom is not merely a fruiting body. It is a vessel, a reservoir that nurtures the forest, ensuring the continuation of countless life forms. Bioluminescent mushrooms extend this gift into the night, glowing steadily in greenish light, attracting insects and spreading spores, reminding us that life persists even in darkness. Mushrooms are ancient, older than plants, older than animals, shaping the earth long before forests existed. Fossil evidence shows fungi over 400 million years ago, and some filaments date back nearly a billion years. Their persistence, their ability to weather geological eras, is a testament to resilience. Every mushroom you see today carries a lineage stretching into deep time, connecting our present world to the primeval past. To walk among mushrooms is to step into a lineage that has witnessed the rise and fall of dinosaurs, the drift of continents, and the slow, patient sculpting of ecosystems. Finally, consider the unseen role of fungi in the cycles of life. Mycelium binds soil, holding nutrients, aiding plant growth, and providing stability to ecosystems. It forms partnerships with trees, enhancing carbon capture and even influencing climate. Without fungi, forests would choke on their own litter, soils would lose fertility, and life as we know it would be impossible. Mushrooms are the quiet custodians of the earth, invisible engineers whose work supports the balance of nature. As you let these thoughts drift through your mind, imagine walking through a forest after rain, mushrooms rising all around you. Picture spores drifting gently through the air, mycelium stretching like threads beneath your feet, and bioluminescent fungi glowing softly in the night. Allow your mind to slow, your thoughts to settle, and your body to relax. Mushrooms teach patience, resilience, and wonder. They remind us that much of life's work happens in silence, beneath the surface, and that even the smallest organisms can shape the world in profound ways. And as you hold this image, let it guide you toward a calm state where your mind floats like a spore in the breeze, light, unhurried, and ready for rest. Mushrooms are more than solitary organisms popping up after rain. They are active participants in an intricate network of life, quietly sending messages, sharing resources, and supporting entire ecosystems. As we wander through these hidden connections, allow yourself to sink into the rhythm of the forest, to notice the life beneath your feet and the stories it tells. Beneath the surface, the mycelium of fungi forms a dense, interwoven network, stretching through soil, leaf litter, and even decaying wood. This web acts as a kind of living internet, a communication system connecting plants, microbes, and other fungi. Nutrients flow along these threads, signaling where resources are scarce and where growth is possible. In some forests, mycelial networks even connect multiple tree species, allowing them to share carbon, nitrogen, and water. A dying tree may pass sugars and minerals to a young sapling nearby, all facilitated by fungal intermediaries. In this way, mushrooms act as caretakers, ensuring that life continues and thrives in balance. Some fungi have taken communication a step further by forming partnerships with insects. Certain spores are designed to hitch rides, clinging to wings, legs, or fur with hooks or sticky coatings. Others produce sweet exudates or even luminescent signals to attract specific insect species. These insects unwittingly become couriers, carrying spores to new territories where the fungi can expand. The forest, from this perspective, is not still at all. It is alive with invisible motion, spores leaping, drifting, or sticking, spreading possibilities through air currents, animal movements, and silent exchanges. Mushrooms also use chemicals to communicate and protect themselves. Some release volatile compounds that deter predators, while others attract helpful insects or warn neighboring fungi of danger. This chemical language is subtle but precise, a secret code of survival and cooperation. In some species, when one mushroom is attacked by pests, it can release compounds that signal others nearby to ramp up their defenses. The forest floor, in essence, becomes a living, reactive network, pulsing with chemical messages that humans can only begin to perceive. Color and shape continue to play a vital role in fungal communication. Some brightly colored mushrooms signal toxicity, warning animals not to eat them. Others use muted, cryptic tones to blend in, hiding from grazers while slowly releasing spores into the soil. The shape of the mushroom itself is part of its messaging. Caps spread to maximize exposure to air currents, stalks lift gills into the flow of wind, and branching patterns increase the likelihood that spores reach new environments. Even in their form, mushrooms convey intent, reproduction, survival, and cooperation, all embedded in quiet geometry. Mushrooms are also remarkable architects when it comes to water. Their tissues act like sponges, soaking up rain and releasing it slowly back into the soil. This not only benefits the fungi themselves, but also creates microhabitats for insects, mosses, seedlings, and microorganisms. Some species can double their weight overnight after a heavy rain, a gentle reminder that even the smallest organisms can orchestrate large-scale environmental changes. Moisture stored by fungi acts as a slow-release lifeline, supporting life in times of scarcity, silently sustaining the rhythms of the ecosystem. The speed at which fungi operate can be astonishing, even if imperceptible to our eyes. Some mushrooms, like the Pilobolus, launch spores with explosive force, exceeding 20 meters per second, faster than a bullet. Each launch is carefully calibrated, ensuring spores land in nutrient-rich soil or on vegetation that will carry them farther. While this speed is invisible to casual observation, under a microscope, it resembles fireworks, a miniature celebration of reproduction and survival. Mushrooms remind us that power and agility exist even in places we rarely notice, in forms that are quiet yet profoundly effective. Bioluminescence is another form of communication and attraction. Glowing mushrooms emit soft green or blue light for days or weeks, luring insects in the dark of night. Unlike fireflies, which flash, these fungi glow continuously, creating a steady beacon in shadowy forests. This light is more than beauty, it is an evolutionary strategy. By drawing insects, fungi increase the chances that spores will be carried far from the parent organism, ensuring genetic diversity and expansion. Walking through a forest at night, one might feel surrounded by tiny, patient lanterns, each glowing mushroom, a silent messenger to the creatures of the night. Mushrooms also teach us about resilience and survival strategies over geological timescales. Fossil evidence shows that fungi have existed for over 400 million years, shaping ecosystems long before flowering plants appeared. Ancient fungi formed symbiotic partnerships with early plants, helping them colonize barren rocks and prepare soil. Every mushroom we see today carries this ancient legacy, connecting us to life forms that survived ice ages, mass extinctions, and changing climates. In every delicate cap and branching coral-like structure, there is a whisper of deep time, a reminder that life, even small and humble, is resilient, adaptive, and enduring. The ecological role of mushrooms extends into nutrient cycling. Fungi are master recyclers, breaking down organic matter into simpler forms. They release essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon into the soil, making them available to plants. At the same time, mycelium binds soil particles, preventing erosion and nutrient loss. Without fungi, ecosystems would stagnate, forests would lose fertility, and plants would struggle to survive. Mushrooms are not just participants in these cycles, they are conductors, guiding the flow of life with subtlety and precision. Finally, mushrooms remind us of the hidden wonders of the natural world. Their lives are quiet, their actions mostly invisible, yet their impact is immense. They regulate soil, water, and nutrient flows, create communication highways for plants and microbes, attract pollinators, deter predators, and even influence carbon capture in forests. Their forms are architectural marvels, their colors both functional and enchanting, their chemical languages intricate and precise. To observe mushrooms is to witness the elegance of survival, cooperation, and adaptation on a scale both microscopic and monumental. As you let these thoughts settle, imagine the forest floor beneath you as a living, breathing network. Mycelium stretches endlessly, spores drift silently through air currents, and mushrooms glow faintly in shaded hollows. Consider the thousands of chemical signals passing between plants, fungi, and insects, all orchestrated without sound or rush. Let your mind slow, let your body relax, and drift in the quiet rhythm of fungal life. Mushrooms teach patience, resilience, and interconnection. They reveal that much of life's work is done in silence, and that even the smallest threads can support entire worlds. In the quiet of the forest, mushrooms reveal more than beauty. They reveal strategy, patience, and ingenuity. Some fungi manipulate their environment with subtle precision, altering the chemistry of the soil to favor their growth and the plants they partner with. Through symbiotic relationships with trees, mycelium channels sugars from leaves, converts them into nutrients, and delivers them deep into the roots, where they are stored for later use. It is a system that functions like a living bank, depositing resources and withdrawing them when necessary, all without fanfare, all invisible to the casual observer. Certain mushrooms act as biological architects, shaping landscapes on a scale both minute and monumental. As they decompose wood, they release minerals, create cavities for water to collect, and form tiny bridges for seedlings to take root. In this way, decay is not destruction but transformation, a slow choreography that sustains life in cycles of quiet elegance. Some fungi create chemical trails that influence the behavior of other organisms. For example, volatile compounds can attract small mammals or insects that, in turn, help disperse spores. Other mushrooms produce repellent chemicals, subtly controlling who comes near and who moves away. Every fragrance, every pigment, every structural curve has evolved with intent. Even a seemingly insignificant cap hiding under leaves is part of a complex dialogue, a message in chemical code, a quiet strategy for survival. In certain meadows, mushrooms grow in astonishing patterns, forming rings, arcs, or spirals. These fairy rings are not random, but the result of mycelium radiating outward in search of nutrients. At the center, resources have been exhausted, so new growth emerges at the periphery, creating geometric precision that echoes the spirals of shells and sunflowers. To witness this is to see mathematics manifest in living form, an elegant balance between efficiency and beauty, repetition and innovation. Mushrooms are also timekeepers. Some species bloom only after rain, swelling within hours, their caps stretching wide to release spores with meticulous timing. Others persist slowly, releasing spores over days or weeks, ensuring steady propagation. Bioluminescent fungi, glowing steadily through nights, mark the passage of hours in gentle green or blue light, a soft pulse in the darkness. These rhythms are subtle, yet they synchronize with the world around them, with weather, soil moisture, and the movements of animals. Life, in its quietest forms, measures time with grace. The architecture of mushrooms extends into miniature complexity. Coral fungi, branching and twisting, create structures that maximize surface area, enhancing spore dispersal. Parasol-like mushrooms lift gills into the wind, optimizing exposure. Even tiny mushrooms, translucent and ephemeral, fulfill multiple roles: shelters for insects, conduits for water, sources of food, and creators of chemical messages. Every form, every filament, every spore is purposeful, the result of evolutionary refinement that balances function and wonder. Mycelium networks have been shown to transmit signals between plants, warning of drought, disease, or predation. Trees, connected by these fungal highways, can adjust their nutrient allocation in response, creating an unseen web of cooperation. In this way, mushrooms are more than participants in ecosystems. They are facilitators, mediators, and silent conductors of forest life, ensuring resilience and equilibrium. Fungal spores themselves are marvels of design and engineering. Some are tiny capsules, suspended to drift on air currents for kilometers. Others hitch rides on animals, sticking to fur or feathers, carried far beyond the reach of wind. Certain mushrooms have evolved explosive mechanisms, launching spores at astonishing speeds to escape the shadow of the parent organism. These bursts are invisible to the naked eye, but crucial for survival, an invisible choreography that maintains the continuity of life. Mushrooms are also remarkable chemists. They produce compounds identical to familiar kitchen spices, cinnamon, anise, and even the yeasty aroma of bread. These scents are not simply for our enjoyment. They serve as signals, attractants, or deterrents within ecosystems. An insect brushing past a fragrant cap might unknowingly carry spores to new soil, ensuring propagation. In this way, the chemistry of fungi is both practical and poetic, blending survival strategy with sensory richness that humans perceive as delight. The resilience of mushrooms is astonishing. Some thrive in deserts, clinging to salt crystals or mineral veins, surviving on mist and dew. Others endure freezing temperatures or radiation, pushing the boundaries of life itself. Fossil evidence shows fungi existed hundreds of millions of years ago, supporting plants, recycling nutrients, and maintaining ecosystems long before flowering plants appeared. Every mushroom we see today carries echoes of these ancient pioneers, living reminders of survival across eons. Mushrooms also regulate the cycles of water and nutrients in forests. By absorbing rain and slowly releasing it into soil, they maintain humidity levels that benefit surrounding plants and microorganisms. Mycelium binds soil particles, preventing erosion and nutrient loss. Fungi act as living sponges and guardians, balancing the flow of life, giving elements beneath the forest floor. Without them, ecosystems would falter, fertility would decline, and the intricate web of life would weaken. In some ways, mushrooms are architects of complexity on both microscopic and global scales. Underground, they create highways for microbes, guiding bacteria through soil and forming partnerships that enhance survival. Above ground, their shapes, colors, and fragrances orchestrate interactions with insects, mammals, and plants. Bioluminescent species illuminate the night, drawing attention to spores and creating patterns of attraction invisible to most eyes. Even ephemeral species lasting only hours leave an impact on nutrient cycles and ecological dynamics. Mushrooms also hold the potential to aid humans in remarkable ways. Some species form symbiotic relationships with trees that increase carbon sequestration, helping mitigate climate change. Others could be used to terraform other planets, breaking down rock into soil, recycling waste, and producing food in closed environments. Mycelium could serve as living construction material, strong, biodegradable, and adaptable. These possibilities echo the role fungi played in Earth's history, preparing the land for plants, stabilizing ecosystems, and enabling life to flourish. As spores drift through the air, glowing caps illuminate shadowed ground, and mycelium networks stretch unseen beneath the soil. Mushrooms remind us that life thrives in quiet, persistent, and interconnected ways. Their work is invisible, yet indispensable. They sustain forests, regulate nutrients, support microbial communities, and maintain the delicate balance that allows ecosystems to endure. Observing them is to witness subtle intelligence, patient design, and evolutionary creativity, all unfolding in the slow pulse of natural rhythm. In every forest, meadow, and hidden corner of Earth, mushrooms continue their silent labor, connecting life, storing resources, dispersing spores, and illuminating the night. They are recyclers, chemists, engineers, and caretakers. They teach patience, interconnection, and resilience. By noticing the quiet, intricate lives of mushrooms, we gain a glimpse of how even the smallest threads in the web of life are essential, and how even invisible actions shape entire worlds. Mushrooms are more than ephemeral bursts of color on the forest floor. They are architects, engineers, and silent organizers of life itself. Beneath the surface, mycelium spreads like a vast, unseen network, threading through soil, weaving around roots, and linking organisms in intricate partnerships. It is a subterranean web that mirrors the complexity of a city, complete with highways, junctions, and exchanges, each filament a conduit for nutrients, information, and survival. In this hidden world, every thread has purpose, every connection sustains life, and the forest hums with quiet coordination. The underground reach of fungi allows them to influence the landscape in ways most cannot perceive. By decomposing wood, leaf litter, and other organic matter, they release minerals and nutrients slowly, creating fertile pockets of soil. These nutrient-rich zones allow seedlings to grow, plants to flourish, and ecosystems to stabilize. A single mycelial network can extend across acres, linking multiple trees in a cooperative system where resources are distributed according to need. In this way, mushrooms operate as caretakers, redistributing wealth beneath the forest floor in a currency of nourishment. Some mushrooms form relationships so intimate that they shape the very physiology of plants. Mycorrhizal fungi entwine with roots, extending their reach far beyond what the plant could manage alone. Sugars flow from leaves into fungal filaments, feeding the network, while in return, the plant gains access to water, nitrogen, phosphorus, and other essential minerals. It is a trade as old as life on land, a silent negotiation conducted in chemical whispers. The forest is, in many ways, a cooperative venture orchestrated by the invisible hands of fungi. Mushrooms also engineer microclimates. Certain species absorb water, swelling rapidly after rainfall, releasing moisture gradually into surrounding soil, and maintaining humidity levels that benefit countless organisms. Tiny organisms, mosses, insects, seedlings, rely on this slow release, creating pockets of life in otherwise dry spaces. In deserts and highlands, fungi may cling to rocks or mineral veins, surviving on dew, mist, or fleeting rainfall. Their presence transforms inhospitable terrain into habitable zones, quietly preparing the way for other life. Patterns in fungal growth reveal both efficiency and elegance. Fairy rings, spirals, and arcs emerge naturally as mycelium expands outward, consuming nutrients at the center and pushing new growth to the edges. From above, these formations appear designed, deliberate, almost mathematical. Spirals mirror the Fibonacci sequence, arcs echo the geometry of shells, and rings suggest careful planning, all arising from the simple laws of growth and nutrient distribution. Nature's precision is effortless, and mushrooms are proof that order can emerge without conscious intent. Some mushrooms manipulate their surroundings through chemistry. Volatile compounds signal insects, animals, and even neighboring plants, The scent of fresh bread, anise, or cinnamon is not merely a pleasant experience for humans, it is an evolutionary strategy. Insects attracted to fragrance brush against spores and transport them far beyond the reach of the parent mushroom. Certain fungi exude chemicals that repel predators, ensuring survival. Others stimulate microbial partners to act in ways that benefit the network. Every aroma, every pigment, every secret chemical is part of a system of communication, subtle yet effective. Fungi are also masters of time. Some species fruit rapidly, doubling in size overnight, ensuring spores are released while conditions are optimal. Others persist for days, releasing spores slowly, creating continuity in reproduction. Bioluminescent species glow steadily in darkness, illuminating the forest floor and subtly attracting nocturnal insects. Their light is patient, unwavering, a quiet pulse in the night that signals life is ongoing even when the forest appears still. It is a reminder that life moves in rhythms beyond human perception, guided by environmental cues, survival instincts, and evolutionary refinement. The speed and force of certain fungal actions are astonishing. Pilobolus, a small dung-loving fungus, launches spores at velocities exceeding 20 meters per second, accelerating faster than a bullet from a gun. These microscopic projectiles travel distances hundreds of times the height of the fungus itself, ensuring spores land in fresh environments for colonization. The fastest motion in biology belongs to these tiny fungi, a hidden spectacle of power, invisible to the naked eye yet profoundly effective. In this, mushrooms teach that even the smallest organisms harbor extraordinary capabilities, reminding us that awe exists in places we rarely look. Above ground, mushrooms create structures that optimize their functions. Coral fungi branch to maximize spore exposure. Parasol-like mushrooms elevate gills to catch wind currents, while ephemeral, translucent species act as tiny shelters for insects, sources of nourishment, and indicators of environmental health. The forms they take are not arbitrary, but shaped by the pressures of survival, efficiency, and reproduction. Beauty emerges not as a primary goal, but as a byproduct of purpose, a harmony between form and function, science and artistry. Fungi also influence the greater cycles of the planet. Through their partnerships with trees, they contribute to carbon sequestration, channeling sugars deep into soil and locking carbon away for decades or centuries. By stabilizing nutrients, they maintain soil fertility, preventing loss through erosion and leaching. Without them, ecosystems would collapse, forests would fail to thrive, and the balance of life would be disrupted. Mushrooms are silent stewards, working tirelessly to sustain environments that, in turn, sustain countless species, including humans. The evolutionary history of fungi amplifies their significance. Fossil evidence shows that mushrooms have been shaping terrestrial life for over 400 million years. They predate flowering plants, forming networks that allowed ecosystems to flourish. Even before insects colonized the skies, fungi were decomposing wood, enriching soils, and providing sustenance for herbivores. They have survived mass extinctions, climatic upheavals, and geological transformations, carrying forward traits honed over eons. Every mushroom today carries echoes of these ancient pioneers, living witnesses to life's resilience and adaptability. In addition to ecological impact, fungi hold promise for human innovation. Mycelium can be used as biodegradable construction material, forming lightweight, strong, and adaptable structures. Certain species are being explored for use in closed ecological systems in space, capable of producing food, breaking down waste, and maintaining soil in controlled environments. Fungal networks could enhance carbon capture on Earth, providing a natural solution to climate challenges. In essence, mushrooms offer lessons and tools, bridging ancient biological wisdom with modern technological potential. Even at the microscopic level, fungi orchestrate life. Bacteria travel along mycelial threads like vehicles on highways. Nutrients and signals pass through networks connecting multiple species, and entire underground ecosystems exist dependent on fungal infrastructure. Life at this scale is invisible yet foundational. Without it, above-ground abundance, from towering trees to delicate wildflowers, could not persist. Mushrooms remind us that the most critical work in ecosystems is often unseen, quiet, and continuous. The aesthetic experiences fungi provide are equally remarkable. Some glow softly in darkness, others bloom in striking colors, blues, purples, pinks, that contrast against the muted browns of fallen leaves. Coral-like branching, umbrella-shaped caps, and intricate lace patterns create landscapes that feel magical. These designs are not merely decoration but functional adaptations, yet to the human eye, they evoke wonder. Mushrooms demonstrate that utility and beauty are not mutually exclusive. Sometimes they rise together quietly in the soil and shade. In every mushroom, there is a story of patience, adaptability, and connectivity. Each spore is a promise, each filament a lifeline, each cap a small miracle of evolution. They teach us that life does not need to shout to be profound, that influence can be subtle, and that even the smallest organisms can shape entire worlds. Mushrooms remind us that the extraordinary often hides beneath our feet, waiting for careful observation, reverence, and respect. Through forests, deserts, and gardens, mushrooms continue their silent work, sustaining life, connecting species, and maintaining balance. They are chemists, engineers, mathematicians, architects, and custodians. Observing them is an exercise in patience, wonder, and humility, a chance to see the delicate, interconnected threads that hold the natural world together. Life, in its quietest moments, whispers through the mycelium beneath us, reminding us that resilience, cooperation, and beauty exist in the smallest, most overlooked forms. Fungi have stories to tell that few of us can hear. Their language is silent, chemical, and invisible, yet profoundly influential. Spores, the microscopic seeds of mushrooms, are more than vessels of reproduction. They are ambassadors, explorers, and carriers of potential. Each spore is designed with precision. Some are lightweight and aerodynamic, drifting on wind currents for miles. Others are sticky, barbed, or wrapped in protective coatings, ready to hitch rides on insects, birds, or mammals. In the quiet forests and fields, spores move constantly, invisible travelers charting unseen paths, carrying life into corners of the world that remain hidden to human eyes. The diversity of spores is astounding. Some are tiny, almost weightless, moving with a whisper of air. Others are coated in sugars or oils that attract insects or small animals, ensuring safe transport to fertile environments. Certain species release their spores explosively, a miniature catapult that launches them into the air at astonishing speed. Pilobolus, the dung-loving fungus, shoots its spores with accelerations faster than a bullet leaving a gun, sending them flying meters from their origin. In every case, these spores are tools of survival, masterpieces of evolutionary engineering. They remind us that motion and purpose can exist in forms so small they evade perception. Beyond reproduction, spores and mycelium serve as communication networks. Fungi release chemicals that signal danger, opportunity, or resource availability. Volatile compounds travel through soil or air, attracting insects or repelling herbivores. Others act as messages to neighboring plants, alerting them to threats such as drought, disease, or predation. These signals are subtle and nuanced, operating in a language of molecules that human senses cannot detect without instruments. The forest is a network of messages, chemical and invisible, constantly exchanged between fungi, plants, insects, and microbes. In this sense, mushrooms are not passive organisms. They are active participants in the orchestration of life, sending and receiving signals that maintain ecosystem balance. Some fungi form astonishingly intimate partnerships. Mycorrhizal fungi entwine with the roots of trees and plants, creating a symbiotic relationship that is both ancient and essential. Sugars flow from plant to fungus, nourishing the mycelium, while the fungus delivers water and essential nutrients back to the plant. In these underground networks, trees communicate, share resources, and even support weaker neighbors through the fungal wood wide web. In a sense, a forest is not a collection of individual trees, but a cooperative community mediated by fungi, where the threads beneath our feet shape the survival and growth of life above ground. Even in deserts, fungi demonstrate resilience and ingenuity. Some form crusts on rocks, combining with algae or cyanobacteria to create living skins that capture moisture and produce food from sunlight. Others cling to salt crystals or mineral veins, persisting on minimal water and tolerating extreme heat, cold, and radiation. In these harsh landscapes, fungi are pioneers, transforming barren surfaces into habitable zones. They are survivalists, teaching us that life thrives not only where conditions are ideal, but also where challenges demand ingenuity, patience, and adaptation. Fungi are masters of timing. Certain species emerge suddenly after rainfall, doubling in size overnight, swelling with water absorbed from the soil. Others persist over weeks, releasing spores gradually, creating continuity in reproduction and ecosystem support. Bioluminescent mushrooms, glowing softly in darkness, act as beacons for insects, guiding them to spores and aiding dispersal. Their light is patient and enduring, a quiet pulse in the night that signals life continues, even in the absence of sunlight. To witness such phenomena is to understand the rhythm of nature, measured not in hours but in the subtle timing of growth, decay, and renewal. Patterns in fungal growth reflect both efficiency and elegance. Fairy rings, arcs, and spirals emerge naturally as mycelium expands outward, depleting nutrients at the center and sprouting new mushrooms at the edges. Spirals echo the Fibonacci sequence. Arcs mirror efficiency in nutrient distribution, and rings indicate careful spatial organization. From above, these formations appear deliberate, almost mathematical, yet they arise from the simple principles of growth and resource management. Mushrooms remind us that beauty often emerges from function, and that form and purpose can coexist seamlessly without conscious intention. Some fungi manipulate the behavior of insects. Certain species attract pollinators with glowing signals, scents resembling food, or sugary exudates. Spores attach to the insect's body, which then unknowingly transports them to new locations. Other fungi grow on flowers or leaves in places where pollinators are most likely to visit, increasing the chance of dispersal. This intricate interaction demonstrates strategic intelligence in survival, where the forest is a marketplace and insects are unwitting couriers carrying life across the landscape. Each spore transported represents potential growth, colonization, and continuity. Fungi are also engineers of the underground world. Mycelium binds soil particles, stabilizing nutrients and preventing erosion. In forests, this creates a living sponge beneath the surface, holding water and minerals where roots can reach them. Without fungi, soils would lose fertility, leaving plants malnourished. In agriculture, fungal networks play a crucial role in maintaining healthy crops, redistributing nutrients, and supporting soil structure. In this way, mushrooms act as both recyclers and guardians, ensuring that the richness of the land endures across seasons and generations. The evolutionary history of fungi underscores their importance. Fossil evidence shows fungi have been shaping terrestrial ecosystems for over 400 million years. They predate flowering plants and have survived mass extinctions, climate shifts, and geological upheavals. Ancient mycelial networks likely helped plants colonize barren rocks, enriching soils and creating habitats. Every mushroom today carries the legacy of these ancient pioneers, living traces of resilience, innovation, and adaptability. To observe fungi is to witness a lineage that has persisted through time, quietly shaping the world we inhabit. Fungi also provide inspiration for human innovation. Mycelium can be grown as sustainable construction material, strong, lightweight, and biodegradable. Certain species are being explored for closed ecological systems, capable of producing food, breaking down waste, and maintaining soil in controlled environments. Fungal networks could enhance carbon capture, helping mitigate climate change by storing carbon deep in soils. Mushrooms remind us that solutions to complex problems may already exist in nature, waiting for human understanding to recognize their potential. At a microscopic level, fungi orchestrate entire ecosystems. Bacteria and other microorganisms travel along mycelial threads, sharing nutrients and forming partnerships. Filaments guide movement, connect isolated pockets, and enable cooperation. Without these networks, life above ground could not flourish. Mushrooms teach that influence does not require visibility, and that the smallest organisms often hold the greatest sway in shaping their environments. They are custodians of balance, engineers of ecosystems, and architects of survival. Finally, mushrooms bring wonder and aesthetic delight. Bioluminescent species glow softly. Coral-like fungi branch into sculptural forms, and parasol-shaped mushrooms rise delicately from the ground. Their colors, shapes, and patterns evoke awe, showing that utility and beauty are intertwined. These designs are not merely for human appreciation. They serve functions like maximizing spore dispersal, protecting delicate tissues, and facilitating interactions with other species. Yet to our eyes, they are reminders that life is intricate, elegant, and endlessly inventive. In every mushroom, there is a lesson in patience, resilience, and interconnectedness. Each spore carries possibility, each filament connects life, and each fruiting body demonstrates purpose. Fungi show us that life thrives not in isolation, but through cooperation, communication, and adaptation. They teach us to notice the unseen, to respect subtlety, and to marvel at the extraordinary complexity of the natural world. Mushrooms are more than organisms. They are storytellers, engineers, chemists, and custodians of life's hidden rhythms. Beneath every forest floor, beneath fields and meadows, lies a network of threads so intricate and expansive that it rivals the most sophisticated human cities. These are the mycelial networks of fungi, silent engineers that weave the foundation of life itself. Unlike the tall trees or the bright flowers that capture our eyes, mycelium works quietly, invisibly, and persistently, connecting organisms, transporting resources, and shaping the landscapes in ways most of us cannot perceive. To observe a forest without considering the hidden work of fungi is to overlook the very scaffolding on which life stands. Mycelium is remarkably efficient. It expands outward from a central hub, exploring the soil in search of nutrients and water. When it encounters a rich patch, it slows its growth there, sending threads back toward the center to redistribute resources. This process is not random. It is a carefully orchestrated expansion that balances the needs of the network with the opportunities presented by the environment. Some species extend for kilometers underground, forming vast webs that link multiple trees and plants. In this way, a single organism can maintain the health of an entire patch of forest, silently distributing energy and nutrients where they are needed most. Bacteria travel along mycelial threads, moving through soil more efficiently than they could on their own. In return, some bacteria supply fungi with nutrients or aid in decomposition. Protozoa, nematodes, and other tiny organisms navigate these threads, forming a miniature metropolis beneath our feet. Every filament, every branching connection contributes to a dynamic ecosystem of interaction and exchange. The soil is alive, a living city pulsing with activity, yet it is a city hidden from view, functioning quietly in support of the life we see above ground. In mycorrhizal partnerships, they entwine with plant roots, creating a symbiosis that benefits both parties. Trees deliver sugars to their fungal partners, while fungi extend the reach of roots, gathering water, phosphorus, nitrogen, and other essential minerals. In forests, this translates into healthier, more resilient trees. Remarkably, these networks also facilitate communication between plants. When one tree is under attack from pests, it can signal neighboring trees through the fungal threads, warning them to produce defensive chemicals. In this sense, the forest operates as a community, and fungi are the messengers carrying information through invisible lines of connection. Fungi also recycle the dead and forgotten. Fallen leaves, broken branches, and decaying organic matter are transformed by mycelium into nutrients that can be reabsorbed by plants. Without this process, forests would accumulate layers of undecomposed material, nutrients would become locked away, and life above the ground would struggle to survive. Mushrooms are not only recyclers, they are the gardeners of the earth, ensuring that nutrients remain available, soils remain fertile, and ecosystems continue to flourish. Every fruiting body that rises from the ground is a testament to this quiet, continuous labor, a visible signal of the invisible work beneath. Patterns of growth in fungi often reveal surprising elegance. Fairy rings, arcs, spirals, and concentric circles appear naturally as mycelium expands. Spirals follow mathematical principles that maximize efficiency. Arcs mark the boundaries of nutrient depletion, and rings illustrate the rhythmic expansion of life over time. These patterns are not merely aesthetic, they are functional, the result of growth dynamics, resource allocation, and environmental feedback. Yet to the human eye, they appear magical, geometric designs etched into the living soil. Mushrooms also manipulate their environment and other species in subtle ways. Some emit chemical signals to attract insects, ensuring that spores attach to bodies and are carried to new locations. Others release repellents to ward off predators or competitors. Bioluminescent species glow softly in darkness, guiding insects toward spores or illuminating the forest night. Even the odors of mushrooms, from sweet licorice and cinnamon to the yeasty smell of bread, serve as signals, communicating with animals, humans, or microbes. Every scent, every glow, every release of spores is a message encoded in chemistry, a language that coordinates survival in complex ecosystems. In deserts and extreme environments, fungi demonstrate ingenuity and resilience. Some species cling to rocks, forming crusts with algae or cyanobacteria, capturing moisture from dew and providing shelter for other organisms. Others survive on minimal water, enduring intense heat, cold, or radiation. These pioneers transform barren landscapes into habitable zones, slowly altering soil composition, stabilizing minerals, and enabling other life forms to take root. In every environment, fungi find a way to persist, adapt, and maintain balance. They are survivors and innovators, teaching lessons in patience, flexibility, and resilience. The history of fungi stretches back hundreds of millions of years, making them some of the earliest architects of life on land. Fossil evidence reveals that fungi were shaping soils and partnering with primitive plants long before flowering plants appeared. They helped colonize rocks, enrich barren lands, and create habitable ecosystems. Every mushroom today carries the lineage of these ancient pioneers, embodying resilience and adaptability honed over eons. To witness a mushroom is to witness the continuation of a story that began before trees, insects, and even most animals existed. Fungi also influence the global climate. Certain species store carbon in deep soils, locking it away for centuries and reducing atmospheric CO2. Their networks can stabilize nutrients, improve soil health, and enhance ecosystem resilience. In this way, fungi are not only caretakers of local environments, but also global regulators, helping to maintain the balance of life on a planetary scale. Their work is subtle and largely invisible, yet its impact is profound, extending far beyond the forests and fields in which they grow. Mushrooms are also sources of inspiration and practical solutions for humans. Mycelium can be grown as sustainable building materials, creating strong, lightweight, and biodegradable structures. Some species can assist in terraforming projects, breaking down rock into soil, recycling waste, and producing food in closed environments. Even in space exploration, scientists envision fungal networks supporting life, producing essential resources, and forming the foundations of new habitats. In these possibilities, fungi continue to serve as architects, builders, and sustainers, bridging natural processes with human innovation. Even as we admire their functionality, fungi inspire awe with their aesthetics. Coral-like structures, delicate parasols, and glowing lanterns emerge from the soil, sculpting landscapes in miniature. Their colors, patterns, and forms are visually striking, yet every feature serves a purpose, protecting delicate tissues, facilitating spore dispersal, or attracting pollinators. In these designs, nature demonstrates that efficiency and beauty are intertwined, and that the world is far more intricate than it appears at first glance. Every mushroom, every spore, every filament teaches patience, cooperation, and balance. Fungi connect life, recycle death, nourish forests, and enable ecosystems to thrive. They work silently, yet their influence is monumental, shaping the survival and growth of countless organisms. To understand fungi is to understand life's hidden architecture, the subtle forces that sustain the visible world. They remind us that power, intelligence, and design are not always obvious. They often exist in small, unseen forms, quietly weaving the fabric of life. Mushrooms, in their infinite variety, offer a glimpse into the elegance of survival. Their stories, written in spores, filaments, and chemical signals, unfold continuously beneath our feet. The forest, meadow, and desert all pulse with the rhythm of fungi, revealing a hidden world of connection, communication, and cooperation. In this hidden universe, life thrives, not in isolation, but through collaboration, adaptation, and the silent persistence of organisms that most of us will never see. In the quiet corners of forests, meadows, and even urban spaces, mushrooms operate on a timetable that is both subtle and profound. Their growth and fruiting are tied to the rhythms of rain, humidity, and temperature, yet also to the slow, almost imperceptible shifts in soil chemistry and microbial activity. To observe a mushroom is to witness a living calendar, a biological chronometer that marks the pulse of the ecosystem. Unlike human-made clocks, These rhythms are measured in moisture and nutrients, in the expansion of mycelial threads, and the silent accumulation of spores. Every cap that rises from the soil is a marker of time, a signal that conditions are right, that life below ground is ready to manifest above it. Mushrooms respond to cues that are invisible to us. The swell of a rainstorm triggers a cascade of chemical reactions within the mycelium, pushing water into tissues that were once dormant, causing cells to expand and the fruiting body to emerge. In deserts, where water is rare, the arrival of dew or a fleeting mist can provoke a sudden flush of growth, tiny but astonishing in its efficiency. In temperate forests, the changing length of days and nights influences the timing of fruiting. Some species even anticipate seasonal changes, emerging just as certain insects or animals become active, ensuring the greatest chance of spore dispersal. They are synchronized not by watches or calendars, but by an intimate knowledge of their environment, a sensorium tuned to temperature, moisture, light, and chemical signals. These timekeepers are also custodians of memory. Fungi carry traces of environmental conditions in their tissues, a record of rainfall, drought, and soil composition over months or years. In ancient forests, the mycelium beneath the soil contains layers of accumulated chemical history, a living archive of the land's past. Researchers studying fungal tissues can detect patterns of nutrient abundance, periods of stress, and interactions with neighboring plants and microbes. In this sense, mushrooms are not only present in the moment, they are living historians, retaining knowledge of the ecosystem that few other organisms can preserve. The structural forms of mushrooms also encode information. Growth patterns reveal where nutrients were plentiful and where competition was fierce. Rings and arcs in fairy circles indicate the spread of mycelium over time, and spirals hint at expansion strategies optimized over generations. The very shape of a mushroom is a map of survival, an illustration of adaptation and resource management. To walk through a forest and observe these patterns is to read the story of life written in living ink on the soil and vegetation. Some fungi, particularly those that live in symbiosis with trees, act as mediators of energy flow. Carbon, nitrogen, and other essential elements move through these networks, guided by fungal threads from one organism to another. Trees under stress, deprived of water, or attacked by pests can receive aid from neighboring trees via fungal connections. In this way, mushrooms become agents of cooperation, facilitating not just survival, but resilience and recovery. The forest is thus a community of shared resources, and fungi are the silent trustees, ensuring that energy and nutrients reach where they are needed most. Mushrooms are also engineers of microhabitats. Their fruiting bodies create shade, regulate humidity, and provide shelter for insects, small mammals, and microorganisms. Even after they decay, their remains continue to influence the soil, enriching it with nutrients and creating pockets of fertility. Fungal decomposition is precise, breaking down complex molecules and recycling them into forms usable by plants and microbes alike. In this process, mushrooms demonstrate the subtlety of ecological engineering, shaping life at scales both visible and invisible. The chemistry of mushrooms is extraordinary. Aromas, pigments, and toxins are not mere byproducts of growth. They are tools in survival and interaction. Scented compounds attract pollinators or spore carriers, while bitter chemicals repel predators. Bright colors may signal toxicity or attract specific animals. Some fungi produce compounds that inhibit competitors, modulate microbial communities, or prevent decay of their own tissues. Every chemical is a carefully honed message, a functional element of survival written in molecules. To humans, these features may appear whimsical or beautiful, but to the fungus, they are instruments of ecological success. In extreme environments, fungi teach lessons in endurance and creativity. Lichens, the symbiotic unions of fungi with algae or cyanobacteria, cling to bare rock, surviving intense radiation, temperature swings, and scarcity of water. Desert fungi colonize mineral veins and salt crystals, harvesting moisture from mists and dew. In Arctic tundra, certain species endure sub-zero temperatures, metabolizing slowly over decades. These fungi reveal the remarkable flexibility of life, its ability to persist against seemingly insurmountable odds. They are living examples of patience, resilience, and adaptation, demonstrating that survival is often a matter of subtle, continuous effort rather than brute force. Mushrooms also hold secrets of evolution. Fossilized fungi, some nearly 1 billion years old, show that these organisms were experimenting with complex forms long before trees, insects, or even most animals existed. Mycelium was colonizing rocks, forming partnerships with primitive plants, and reshaping landscapes in ways that laid the foundation for terrestrial ecosystems. Today's mushrooms carry this legacy in their DNA, linking each fruiting body to eons of adaptation, survival, and collaboration. To touch a mushroom is to touch a living connection to deep time, to feel a lineage that stretches back before forests or flowering plants existed. Fungi play crucial roles in global cycles. By storing carbon in soils, stabilizing nutrients, and mediating interactions between plants and microbes, they influence climate and ecosystem health. They are partners in carbon capture, in water regulation, and in sustaining biodiversity. Their networks are not only local infrastructure but planetary systems, quietly shaping conditions on a scale that humans are only beginning to understand. The forest, meadow, or desert is richer and more resilient because of these silent architects, their threads woven into the very fabric of life. Finally, mushrooms invite contemplation and wonder. Their fleeting beauty, complex forms, and subtle interactions remind us that much of life's work is invisible. The rise of a mushroom after rain, the glow of bioluminescent species at night, the spirals and arcs etched into the soil. All of it speaks to a universe operating on scales we seldom perceive. Life is continuous, patient, and interconnected, and fungi are its hidden orchestrators. Observing them encourages stillness, reflection, and a deeper appreciation for the quiet brilliance of natural systems. Every mushroom, every thread of mycelium, every chemical and scent is part of a grand symphony that is played for millions of years. These organisms teach that time is layered, that survival is cooperative, and that even the smallest beings can wield immense influence over the world around them. Mushrooms are not just components of ecosystems, they are storytellers, engineers, chemists, and historians. They hold the pulse of life in their networks, and by noticing them, we attune ourselves to rhythms far older and wiser than our own. Beneath every forest, meadow, or forgotten garden, a network of threads hums with life, unseen yet crucial. These threads, mycelium, are more than the roots of mushrooms. They are the silent highways over which fungi extend their reach, explore their surroundings, and communicate with the world. Through these networks, nutrients travel, signals are sent, and the timing of growth is orchestrated. Above ground, mushrooms emerge as the visible punctuation of this subterranean narrative, but the real story unfolds beneath the soil, in a world where movement is subtle, slow and deliberate, yet endlessly purposeful. One of the most remarkable aspects of fungi is their spores. These microscopic capsules carry life into the air, into the soil, and sometimes into the guts of animals. They are vessels of potential, waiting for the right conditions to germinate and expand into new mycelial networks. Spores are crafted with astonishing precision. Some are shaped to drift on the gentlest breeze, others are sticky or spiny, designed to hitch a ride on passing animals or insects. Certain fungi even invest energy into explosive dispersal, launching spores at incredible speeds to ensure they escape the immediate shadow of their parent. Each spore is a tiny time machine, carrying genetic material forward, bridging distances, and connecting ecosystems in ways invisible to our eyes. Some spores travel surprisingly far, riding on winds across forests, fields, and rivers. Others remain close, infiltrating the soil beneath the parent mycelium, expanding the colony gradually. In a single gram of forest soil, millions of spores may exist, forming a potential army of future fungi. These spores, though minuscule, are astonishingly resilient. They can survive extreme temperatures, desiccation, and even radiation, remaining dormant until the world aligns with their needs. In this patience, fungi teach us about timing and persistence, the quiet readiness to seize opportunity when it arises. The journeys of spores are often collaborative ventures. Fungi form partnerships with plants, algae, and bacteria, creating relationships that are both subtle and profound. Mycorrhizal fungi, for example, entwine their filaments around plant roots, extending the plant's reach into soil pockets it could never access alone. In exchange for sugars from the plant, the fungus delivers water, phosphorus, nitrogen, and other critical nutrients. This underground cooperation is not a singular act. It is a continuous negotiation, a network of exchanges that sustains forests, meadows, and grasslands. It is in these relationships that fungi demonstrate a quiet intelligence, one that does not rush or dominate, but supports and balances. Fungal networks also act as information highways. Chemical signals move along filaments, warning nearby colonies of danger or scarcity. Plants too participate, sending signals to fungi about stress, pathogen attacks, or nutrient deficiencies. Through this exchange, the forest becomes a communicative organism, a collective consciousness where fungi are key nodes. Each mushroom is the visible tip of an unseen conversation, the punctuation of messages that have traveled through countless microscopic threads. Observing a mushroom is thus akin to overhearing a single word of an intricate dialogue that has been ongoing for millennia. Mushrooms themselves are extraordinary at interacting with the animal world. Some glow in the dark, their bioluminescence attracting insects that carry spores to new locations. Others emit scents that mimic fruit, spices, or even bread, enticing animals to investigate and inadvertently disperse spores. Some fungi produce sticky or barbed spores that cling to fur, feathers, or exoskeletons, using mobility as a strategy. Each interaction is purposeful, a refined tactic honed over millions of years to maximize survival and reproduction. In watching a mushroom, we witness not only a single organism but an entire strategy for continuity, spread, and connection. The shapes of mushrooms reflect both function and subtle beauty. From the simplest caps to branching coral-like forms, each structure has evolved for optimal spore release, protection of reproductive tissues, and efficient interaction with the environment. Fairy circles, arcs, and spirals illustrate the underlying geometry of mycelial growth, where the depletion of nutrients at the center pushes expansion outward in predictable patterns. To stumble upon such formations is to glimpse the intersection of mathematics and biology, a visual echo of principles that govern growth across scales, from the microcosm of a spore to the sweep of entire forests. Fungi also play a profound role in nutrient cycling and soil architecture. Mycelium binds soil particles together, stabilizing water, phosphorus, nitrogen, and carbon in forms accessible to plants. Without this intervention, nutrients would leach away, leaving ecosystems impoverished. In forests, these networks act as a living sponge, absorbing rainfall and redistributing moisture slowly, creating pockets of humidity that support mosses, seedlings, and insects. Even after death, fungal structures continue to enrich soil, their decomposed tissues acting as reservoirs of fertility. Mushrooms, in this sense, are both recyclers and guardians, preserving the vitality of ecosystems over time. In deserts, fungi demonstrate astonishing adaptability. Some species form lichens with algae, creating living skins on rocks that withstand sun, wind, and extreme scarcity of water. Others grow along mineral veins, absorbing moisture from dew and fog. These partnerships exemplify how fungi harness creativity and survival, using minimal resources to create stable microhabitats and sustain life in the harshest environments. In such conditions, they reveal a principle that resonates across ecosystems. Survival is rarely about dominance, it is about connection, resourcefulness, and persistence. Fungi are also bridges to the past. Fossilized filaments dating back nearly 1 billion years demonstrate that they were experimenting with multicellular forms long before plants and animals dominated terrestrial life. These ancient fungi-shaped soils prepared habitats and established relationships with early plants that set the stage for terrestrial ecosystems. Modern mushrooms are living echoes of these primordial pioneers, carrying forward strategies that have persisted through deep time. In holding or observing a mushroom, we touch a lineage that stretches back into the dawn of life on land, a reminder that even small organisms can wield immense influence over the trajectory of life. Some fungi are astonishing chemists. They produce compounds that deter predators, attract dispersers, or inhibit competing organisms. Aromas reminiscent of spices, bread, or fruit are more than sensory delight. They are functional strategies, guiding interactions with insects, mammals, and humans alike. Pigments, toxins, and chemical defenses are precise. Each molecule evolved to serve survival, reproduction, and communication. In this way, mushrooms are subtle alchemists, transforming the raw materials of the forest into signals, protections, and invitations, demonstrating that even the quietest organisms operate with deliberate complexity. In the grand tapestry of life, mushrooms are connectors, communicators, and collaborators. They distribute nutrients, relay chemical messages, attract animals, and support plants. They engineer soil, moderate moisture, and recycle organic matter. They record environmental history, preserve genetic diversity, and exemplify patience and persistence. To observe, touch, or even smell a mushroom is to witness the interplay of countless processes and strategies, all woven into a delicate balance that sustains life on Earth. Through spores, threads, and fruiting bodies, fungi remind us that life is often invisible, slow, and patient. The forest, meadow, or garden may appear still, yet beneath our feet, an intricate web of activity unfolds, carrying the next generation forward, stabilizing ecosystems, and connecting life across space and time. Mushrooms, though small and often overlooked, are crucial actors in this vast narrative. Their hidden labor ensures continuity, resilience, and wonder, revealing that the most powerful forces in nature are often quiet, invisible, and persistent. And so, as spores drift into the wind, mycelium threads pulse through soil, and mushrooms rise above the forest floor, we are reminded that life's smallest architects often carry the heaviest responsibilities. They work in silence, yet their influence stretches from the microcosm of a forest to the scale of the planet. Observing them invites patience, reflection, and a deep appreciation for the unseen, for the processes that sustain life quietly, efficiently, and beautifully. Beneath the hum of the forest, beneath the rustle of leaves and the quiet steps of animals, fungi silently shape the world. Their influence stretches far beyond the small mushrooms we see peeking through moss or litter. Each mushroom is a fleeting expression of a far larger organism, the fruiting body of mycelium that extends unseen for meters, sometimes kilometers, through soil, wood, and decaying matter. These networks are not random. They are deliberate architectures designed for survival, collaboration, and efficiency. They form pathways for nutrients, highways for microbes, and bridges between plants. In this quiet labor, fungi are not just participants in ecosystems. They are the engineers, the stabilizers, and the memory keepers of life itself. The structures fungi create underground are astonishing. Mycelium weaves through soil, wrapping around roots, penetrating decomposing wood, and even burrowing into rocks. These threads absorb water and minerals, store energy, and transmit chemical signals. A single network can connect dozens of plants, distributing nutrients according to need, sharing warnings of pathogens, and even modulating growth patterns. In essence, the forest communicates through fungi. It is a subterranean social network, alive with information, movement, and negotiation, where every mushroom above ground is a node in an intricate web of invisible connections. Fungi are also memory keepers. While they may not have brains or neurons, mycelial networks can respond to environmental stimuli in ways that resemble memory. Experiments have shown that some fungi remember, where resources are abundant and optimize growth accordingly. They can adjust to stress, altering the way they expand, release spores, or interact with partners. In this quiet intelligence, fungi teach lessons about adaptation and subtle learning. Life, it seems, does not always need consciousness to be aware. Awareness can be encoded in structure, response, and persistence, and fungi have mastered this art over hundreds of millions of years. Above ground, mushrooms reflect this hidden intelligence in form, color, and timing. The timing of fruiting is carefully orchestrated to maximize survival and reproduction. Some mushrooms appear overnight, swelling rapidly after rain, while others wait for weeks, slowly preparing to release spores when conditions are ideal. Colors, though captivating to our eyes, often have functional purposes, warning toxins, attracting insects, or protecting delicate tissues from light and desiccation. Even the shapes, the spirals, circles, and arcs are functional expressions of underground processes. The geometry is dictated by resource availability, growth patterns, and the natural physics of expansion. In witnessing these shapes, we see nature's algorithms at work, silently optimizing, iterating, and balancing. Mushrooms are also unparalleled chemists. The scents that rise from their caps, the sweet yeastiness of a field mushroom, the licorice-like aroma of certain milk caps, the faint cinnamon or anise, are not arbitrary. They are invitations, repellents, or signals evolved to guide interactions with insects, animals, and humans. Some scents lure pollinators or spore dispersers, others warn predators away. Volatile compounds travel through the air, subtly influencing the behavior of the surrounding ecosystem. Each aroma is a note in the invisible symphony of the forest, a chemical signature carrying meaning, history, and intent. The reproductive strategies of fungi are equally extraordinary. Spores can drift, stick, hitch rides, or even be launched with explosive force. Bilobolus, for instance, can shoot spores at incredible speeds, ensuring they land on fresh grass to be eaten by herbivores and carried further. Others glow in the dark, their bioluminescence attracting insects that disperse spores long after sunlight fades. The forest is alive with these microscopic journeys, tiny projectiles moving through invisible currents, connecting life across distances we cannot perceive. In these subtle movements, the work of survival becomes a spectacle of engineering and ingenuity hidden in plain sight. Fungi also shape entire landscapes over long timescales. By decomposing organic matter, they recycle nutrients that plants cannot access on their own. By stabilizing soils, they prevent erosion, lock carbon underground, and maintain fertility. In deserts and harsh climates, they create microhabitats that support life in the absence of water or shade. In doing so, fungi are not just responding to the world, they are reshaping it, slowly, patiently, but relentlessly. Every spore, every hyphal strand, every mushroom cap is part of a strategy that stretches across years, decades, and centuries, connecting the ephemeral and the enduring. The parallels between fungi and human endeavors are striking. Just as we build cities, roads, and communication networks, fungi construct underground infrastructures for life. Mycelium threads guide microbes, connect plants, and support ecosystems, performing tasks that humans cannot see but are essential to survival. Their work is silent yet foundational. Without fungi, forests would choke on their own litter, soils would lose fertility, and ecosystems would unravel. Life depends on this hidden architecture, and mushrooms are its visible, ephemeral markers, rising like sentinels to announce the ongoing labor beneath. Fungi also demonstrate resilience in extremes. From Arctic tundras to the driest deserts, they survive where almost nothing else can. Some live in salt crystals, surviving on dew and mists. Others endure radiation, extreme temperatures, and scarce nutrients. They are the ultimate survivors, adapting, collaborating, and persisting through conditions that would annihilate most life. In observing their adaptability, we learn lessons about endurance, patience, and the ingenuity inherent in life itself. Even in human culture, fungi play profound roles. They have been revered in spiritual traditions, incorporated into ceremonies, and used as medicine. Their psychotropic properties, aromas, and flavors have guided rituals, healed bodies, and inspired awe. But beyond these uses, fungi remind us that value is not always immediate or obvious. The quiet work beneath our feet sustains forests, crops, and life itself long before we ever notice or comprehend it. They are both practical and mystical, bridging the tangible and intangible in ways few other organisms can. As mushrooms fruit, grow, and release spores, they teach us to notice the unseen, to respect patience, and to appreciate subtlety. Life does not always need to be loud to be effective. The forest, when observed through the lens of fungi, is a web of interactions, strategies, and histories that unfold quietly, deliberately, and with purpose. Every cap, stalk, and thread is part of an intricate story that began long before humans and will continue long after. In essence, fungi are architects of life, memory, and connection. They weave the foundations of ecosystems, stabilize soils, recycle nutrients, and create opportunities for countless other species to thrive. They communicate chemically, structurally, and temporally, sending messages through time and space. They survive extremes, adapt, and persist. They are chemists, engineers, artists, and custodians of the earth. Every mushroom we see is the tip of a vast, intelligent, and ancient organism, reminding us that the quietest forces often hold the most influence. And as we let our minds drift through this world of spores, mycelium, and mushrooms, we begin to see life differently, not as chaotic or disconnected, but as a tapestry woven with purpose, patience, and interconnection. Each mushroom rising after rain, each thread pulsing beneath the soil, each spore drifting on the wind is a testament to the resilience and subtle genius of life. Mushrooms teach us to notice, to pause, and to understand that the most vital work is often done quietly, invisibly, and persistently. Mushrooms are more than just fleeting shapes on the forest floor. Each cap, each stalk, and each gossamer thread of mycelium tells a story of survival, patience, and quiet intelligence. They are the silent teachers of the natural world, showing us that life thrives not through noise or haste, but through subtle connections and steady persistence. Beneath the visible mushrooms, beneath the soft forest litter, mycelial networks stretch endlessly, linking trees, plants, and even animals in a hidden web of communication. These networks operate without sound, without consciousness in the human sense, yet they transmit information, distribute resources, and manage relationships across the ecosystem. In their invisible labor lies the rhythm of life itself. Consider how a forest responds to stress. When one tree faces drought, fungal networks redistribute water and nutrients to support its roots. When a pathogen invades, chemical signals move through mycelium to warn neighboring plants. In these quiet exchanges, fungi act as mediators, healers, and guardians. They maintain balance where disruption could otherwise spread unchecked. A single strand of mycelium may seem inconsequential, yet collectively, these threads form a living nervous system beneath the soil. It is a reminder that even the smallest participants in an ecosystem can hold immense influence when working in unison. Mushrooms also embody time in ways we rarely notice. A fruiting body may appear overnight, but it is the culmination of years of unseen growth. The mycelium that feeds it has slowly explored the soil, wrapped around decaying wood, and gathered nutrients with meticulous patience. When spores are finally released, they are not merely reproduction, they are a message sent forward, carrying potential for life into unknown spaces. The cycle repeats, invisible to most eyes, yet persistent as the movement of the sun across the sky. Observing this patience in nature can be profoundly calming. It teaches us that growth does not always need to be immediate, and that the most critical processes often unfold beyond our perception. Some fungi are artists in their own right. Coral-like branching mushrooms rise in intricate patterns, delicate as lace or robust as carved wood. Others form perfect spirals and circles, expressions of mathematical precision encoded in biology. Colors range from subtle creams and browns to shocking blues, purples, and oranges, pigments serving purposes beyond human aesthetics: protection, signaling, camouflage, or attraction. When a mushroom glows at night, bioluminescence illuminates its surroundings in greenish, soft light, attracting insects to carry spores far beyond what the wind can manage. Life at this scale is a careful choreography, a balance of chemistry, geometry, and timing, revealed in forms that feel both otherworldly and familiar. Their volatile compounds scent the forest with yeastiness, cinnamon, or anise, each fragrance a coded message to the ecosystem. Animals, insects, and even humans can respond to these signals without understanding the underlying chemistry. Spore dispersal, nutrient exchange, and predator deterrence are all orchestrated through these aromatic cues. In this, mushrooms show us that communication can occur without words or sound, through the subtle language of molecules, reaching across species and spaces in silent efficiency. The resilience of fungi is astonishing. In deserts, they cling to salt crystals and mineral veins, surviving on fleeting dew. In Arctic tundras, they persist under snow and ice. They endure extreme heat, cold, drought, and radiation, sometimes thriving where plants, animals, and most other life forms cannot. This resilience teaches a quiet lesson. Adaptability, collaboration, and patience often matter more than brute strength. It also reminds us of the extraordinary possibilities that life can take when it chooses persistence over speed, subtlety over spectacle. Fungi are central to the cycles of carbon and nutrients on Earth. Microbial partnerships with trees help sequester carbon in soils, while decomposition by fungi recycles nutrients for plants to absorb. Soil stability, water retention, and ecosystem productivity all hinge on fungal activity. Without them, the delicate balance of forests, meadows, and even farmlands would collapse. They are both the caretakers and architects of life, ensuring that energy flows smoothly and ecosystems remain resilient over centuries. These quiet processes extend beyond our planet. As humans look toward Mars and other distant worlds, scientists consider fungi as potential partners in terraforming. They could help build soil, recycle waste, tolerate radiation, and even provide edible resources. Mycelial networks could form structural material, creating biodomes and habitats grown rather than manufactured. In this way, fungi not only shaped the Earth for life, but may one day shape other planets, carrying the wisdom of survival and adaptation across the cosmos. Yet, despite all this power and importance, fungi remain largely hidden, their work unnoticed by most of us. They remind us that the most critical forces in life are not always obvious. The smallest, quietest, and most overlooked participants can hold the keys to resilience, connectivity, and balance. Watching a mushroom grow, release spores, or glow softly in the night can be a meditative experience. It invites us to slow down, notice, and appreciate the unseen networks that sustain life. Every step through a forest, every observation of a mushroom, is a gentle reminder that life's magic often occurs in silence and subtlety. Mushrooms also teach lessons about cooperation. Many fungi do not act in isolation. They form partnerships with algae, cyanobacteria, trees, and even microbes. These alliances provide shelter, nutrients, and protection, enhancing survival for all partners. In the broader web of life, cooperation is often more powerful than competition, a lesson reflected in the patient, intricate networks beneath our feet. Life is rarely a solo endeavor. Even the mightiest forests, deserts, and ecosystems rely on quiet collaborations that unfold over decades and centuries, mediated by organisms as humble and powerful as fungi. As we drift through these thoughts, it becomes clear that fungi are storytellers. They narrate a tale of patience, persistence, adaptability, and beauty, written not in words but in forms, scents, structures, and chemical signals. The forest floor is a library of these stories, each mushroom a chapter, each thread of mycelium a sentence. To observe them is to read the language of life at its most ancient, most subtle, and most profound. And so, as our journey through the hidden world of mushrooms comes toward a gentle pause, take a moment to appreciate the quiet architects beneath your feet. Think of the spores leaping into the air, the mycelial threads weaving their networks, the glowing caps lighting the darkness. Every mushroom is a teacher, a chemist, an engineer, and a keeper of memory, showing us that patience, resilience, and cooperation are the true foundations of life. If you've enjoyed wandering through the secret world of fungi, observing their wisdom, their resilience, and their subtle magic, consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you join a community of curious minds, dreamers, and science lovers, ready to explore the quiet wonders of the natural world with us. Hit that subscribe button and allow more journeys into the extraordinary hidden layers of life to reach you, guiding you gently through curiosity, awe, and relaxation. Good night.